On to December's sketchbook for SHEcember. Pretty much every day of December, due to the SHEcember guidelines set forth by Marsh. We are learning how to draw the female figure better. Starting out in December, a bunch of different ones of Comic Book Girl 19. You've seen me draw her various times throughout the year, and I was really satisfied with showing my progress with these different drawings. I've been working on drawing her differently throughout the year, and I really am satisfied. Second day, we move on to Casca from Berserk. Pretty pivotal character to my storytelling and everything like that. I'm sure you know by now by that. This samurai / geisha type warrior lady chick. I love the design, but I just can't get those lines to work for some reason. I wish they looked better. I wish they looked as good as they do in my mind. Moving on to this one, you have this lady standing on this old roadster. This was actually done by Big Toe. It's a painting of his. I put it up on Instagram, tagged him. He said it looked pretty awesome, so I was pretty glad about that. Moving on to the 5th, we have a couple different drawings. The classic Audrey Hepburn. I really like how these turned out. I've drawn Hepburn a bunch of times in the past, and they never really kind of worked out, and I always just kind of tossed them aside, but even the one in her old age, I just love how they turned out. On to the 6th, you have this crazy drawing of this chick, standing against a bowl type thing. I'm not quite sure. I looked up his art, just such rad designs and whatnot, so definitely worth checking out. Well, on to the 7th, another classic Hollywood goddess, Marilyn Monroe. I really like how this one laying her down turned out. I don't think I've ever gotten her face to look as good as I did in the other two too. So pretty happy with how those turned out. Artist friend Greta Claire. For the 8th, a bunch of different, she does these pictures where she has paint dripping on her body and whatnot. Really cool designs. Definitely worth checking out. I know I've mentioned her in past SketchUps. Then you have Lulu Beam. I really like that one, how that turned out, the hair falling across her face. On to this, you have an artist friend, Olivia Jondal. I've drawn her a few times this past year. Really like how those turned out. I think the blue one is probably my favorite. Redid her face up here, make it look a little bit better. But yeah, just really satisfying. On to another friend of mine, Ashton. Really love how that turned out. A couple of my friends did their skulls, did their faces as skulls for this last Halloween. She was one of them, and really, I wish I would have done it with blue, gone over with blue, because it really got her facial features pretty spot on for that one. I think she was one of the last SketchUps. So if you haven't checked those out for the SHEcember volume, highly suggest it. Then moving on to the 12th, have Barbara Dunkelman. I've drawn her a few times. I think she did there's a couple pictures that I drew of her posing with guns with Jessica Negri, and I know there's a couple Harleys that I did throughout this year. She has this really sweet Blade Runner picture that Wes from Rooster Teeth took of her. Really like how that turned out. On to the 13th, my artist friend Veronica Harper. I really love this design. It kind of got muddied from the other colors over here, so I didn't want to do that with that. I really wish I would have taken some time to differentiate some things, but Really like how those turned out regardless. On to the 14th. One of these Suicide Girls tattooed chicks. This was where I started figuring out my rigging and doing some better overhead camming of me drawing. I really like how this first one turned out. I like how the other ones turned out, but like that was my favorite for sure. Then from there, we go on to the 15th, which is Joy from Blade Runner. She is the one of the SHEcembers. One of the sketchups from December, I should say. Let's see, that was 15. So on to the 16th, you have a couple different Jessica Negri. I was trying to get her pose down for that junk rat, but couldn't quite get it down to how I liked it. On the 17th, you have this one. That'll be another SketchUp of Joy. It was supposed to be what's her name? Megan Turney, but my ink pens ran out, so I just adjusted and made her look like Joy from Blade Runner. I think it turned out really awesome. Really like how that looks. Looking forward to putting up that SketchUp as me trying, because it shows when my marker ran out. Another Suicide Girl posing on her bed. I really like how this one turned out. The other ones are kind of a little off, but they work out all right. On to the 19th. It was my friend's birthday. Figured I'd draw her for her birthday. I really like how that turned out. On to the 20th. Another artist friend. I've drawn her a few times this past year. Larissa Faye on Instagram, if you feel like checking her out. She is going to university for art things, and I really like her style. So, on to the 21st. Actually, I will have to splice in a photo of this one because I have sold it. It was Rey from Force Awakens. Did that with Poe and Skywalker grabbing his old lightsaber. A couple different fan arts from not Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi. Then moving on to the 22nd, we have Kato. I really like this gesture posing that I started doing as well. I dig how the other two turned out, but the gesture is probably my favorite one going forward. Griffin Ramsey, chainsaw artist. I dig how this one turned out. Her with her chainsaw down at the bottom, gesture posing. And then we move on to a couple days of working with Alice. She does a lot of live streaming for like figure studies. I really dig how those turned out. 2 days spent on hers. Christmas Eve and Christmas, yeah. And moving on to the 26th, Christina Scavia from Lacuna Coil. I've drawn her once or twice this past year. I'm not quite satisfied, so I'll probably come back and try a couple of those again this year. Moving on to the 27th, my concert friend, Jody. I really like how this bottom one turned out, where she has the controller up to her face. There's other aspects of the other drawings that I dig, but those were definitely some of the better ones. Then 28th, 29th, couple split days again of Makani Terror. I really like how those gestures turned down at the bottom. I think her face up here is probably the best. And then the 30th, my other friend, comic friend, Delight. drew her a couple different poses. I think that bottom one looks the best. And then moving on to the last day of the year 2017, and this whole 365 days of drawing, the end of SHEcember, the end of 2017. Such wild growth, my friend Chelsea. Also started the next year out with her, so you'll be seeing plenty of her this coming year. Really like how this sketchbook turned out. There's a lot of good poses that I have in there that I've learned a bunch of things from. Also, I'm very intrigued by this whole hand holding phone gesture, so you'll probably be seeing that a couple times this year as well. So thanks for checking it out. Thanks for supporting me on Patreon. If you have not, there's a link down in the description to throw a buck my way there and get these videos a month earlier than everybody else, as well as some other exclusive content. So thanks for all that, and we'll check in with you next month for the next sketchbook, other than, those random videos I put up all the time. Peace.